On 23 January 2023, the Commission sent you a request for submission of the 5-year declaration of assets and personal interests, and on 30 January 2023, you submitted your 5-year declaration. The Commission also asks candidates to voluntarily complete and submit an ethics questionnaire, and you did so on 1 July last year, 2022. The Commission sent you 3 rounds of questions on 17 March, 24 March and 29 March respectively. You were asked a total number of 18 questions, including 58 subparts, and 25 of the questions included a request for further documentation. According to Article 3, Paragraph 4 of the Evaluation Rules of the Commission, a candidate may not provide information, documents or other materials during the hearing if the Commission requested these earlier and the candidates did not provide them within the time specified, unless, of course, the candidate provides sufficient justification. Members of the Commission will now start with asking you questions. I will start with the first set of questions. We will try to keep our questions short and to the point, and we ask you that your answers be short and to the point as well. The first issue that I would like to discuss with you relates to the purchase of an apartment in 2014 and the sale of the apartment in 2017, and at the same time the purchase of a house in 2017 and the sources of funds for these. The facts are the following. On 20 June 2014, you and your wife bought an apartment of 31.1 square meter in Chisinau. The contractual price agreed upon was 165,488 lei, which is roughly 8,800 euros. You informed the Commission that when you bought this apartment, the seller, as was apparently the custom at the time, did not want to include the market price but the cadastral price in the contract. The price was also included in your 2014 annual declaration. You also informed the Commission that the real price paid for the apartment was 27,000 euros, which is roughly about 503,000 lei. Although you were not able to provide a copy of the 2014 sale purchase contract, you were able to provide a copy of the mutual agreement or declaration signed by the seller of the apartment stating that he had received a total amount of 27,000 euros from you. On 8 June 2017, you and your wife sold the apartment for the same contractual and cadastral price of 165,488 lei. Again, this was also the price you included in your 2017 annual declaration as income received from the sale of the apartment. And here again, you informed the Commission that the real price received by you was 27,000 euros. That is the same price as what you bought the apartment for 3 years earlier. According to an evaluation in 2017 by an independent evaluation company for the purpose of establishing the mortgage regime of the immovable property by the bank, the market value of the apartment was estimated to be around 480,000 lei, and that is roughly 23,000 euros. When asked about the source of funds for the purchase of this apartment, you informed the Commission that you and your wife got married in 2013 and that you received wedding donations in the amount of 360,000 lei. You stated that the biggest part of these donations had been received from your mother and parents-in-law. On 10 July 2017, you and your wife bought a land plot of 0.0109 hectare and a house of 83.8 square meters in Stauchen. The house was on the market for 55,000 euros, but after some negotiations, the finally agreed upon price was 980,000 lei, which is about 47,000 euros. You provided a copy of the sale purchase contract to the Commission. Although the price seems to be in conformity with the market prices for comparable real estate in this area in 2017, the price is lower than the cadastral price or the cadastral value of 37,448 lei for the land plot and 1.521 lei, 1,000 lei for the house. When asked about this issue by the Commission, you explained that you had also raised this difference between the market price and the cadastral price with the notary in 2017, but that the notary indicated that this was a common situation for Chisinau suburbs. In relation to the source of funds for the purchase of this house, you indicated three sources: the sale of the apartment bought in 2014 and sold in June 2017, the donation of 420,000 lei from a christening event in 2016, and savings made by you and your wife from salary and allowances of previous years. In the written rounds of questions, the Commission has also discussed with you the donations you received for the wedding in 2013 and the christening event in 2016. These donations, 360,000 lei for the wedding and 420,000 lei for the christening event, were largely funded by your mother, around 200,000 lei, and your parents-in-law, around 400,000 lei. You informed the Commission that your mother was able to provide these donations based on accumulated resources over a long period of time, including her salary and pension that she received since 2003. Your parents-in-law live in the eastern region of Moldova, also known as Transnistria, where the Moldovan government does not exercise effective control since September 1990. Your mother-in-law has been working there until 2018, and your father-in-law continues to work in Russia. You provided various documents, including copies of bank transfers, copies of workbooks, to demonstrate the employment by both your parents-in-law. Now we come to the questions, and I will begin by asking you some questions to establish the facts first. Hopefully these can be answered with a yes or no response, and after that we will come to some questions that will seek greater detail or explanations from you. So my first question to you is, on 20 June 2014, you and your wife bought an apartment of 31.1 square meter in Chisinau for the contractual price of 165,488 lei. Is that correct?
Yes.
Very good. When you bought this apartment, the seller did not want to include the market price, but the cadastral price in the contract. Is that correct?
Yes.
The real price paid for the apartment was 27,000 euros. Is that correct?
Correct.
And on 8 June 2017, you and your wife sold the apartment for the same contractual price of 165,488 lei, and the actual selling price was also 27,000 euros. Is that correct?
Yes.
In both 2014 and 2017, in your annual declarations, you declared the contractual or the cadastral price of 165,488 lei and not the actual price. Is that correct?
Yes, the cadastral price was indicated.
Yeah. As you were the seller in 2017, was it at your instigation that the sale purchase contract reflected the cadastral price and not the real price?
That was the custom back then. The cadastral price was thus indicated, yes.
You did not pay tax over capital increase when selling the apartment in 2017, as the purchase price and the selling price was the same, so there was no increase. Is that correct?
Yes, I did not pay taxes, but I would also like to clarify that even if the actual price would have been indicated, I wouldn't have paid taxes anyway, because the difference was zero.
On 10 July 2017, you and your wife bought a plot of land and a house of 83.8 square meters in Staushan for 980,000 lei. Is that correct?
Yes.
But this time, the contractual price reflected the actual price agreed upon. Is that correct?
Yes, the actual price was there.
And in your annual declaration, since 2018, you did not indicate the actual price, value of the house, but the higher cadastral price. Is that correct? And why did you do so, if that is correct?
If I remember well, in the declarations, I would indicate the real price, the actual real price of the house, that is 980,000 lei.
We will double check that, yeah. So in June and July 2017, you sold an apartment and you bought a house. The contract where you were the seller clearly reflected not the real price, whereas the contract where you were the buyer did reflect the real price. In your answers to the Commission, you referred to the vicious practice of including sale purchase prices different from the real prices. But can you then clarify why the selling of the apartment was done against the contractual price, which was not the real price, and a month later you had you bought a house which did reflect the real price? Can you explain why that was a different practice in that 1 month?
In fact, this was a question that was discussed in the written correspondence with the Commission. And as I explained to the Commission, that was due to certain objective factors that had to do with the state policy in the fiscal and administrative fields, because the state authorities have evaluated the assets at very small prices, small values, and therefore along many years, there was no repeated reevaluation for assets. And thus, those who had to sell real estate, they had to either indicate the cadastral authorities as evaluated by the government authorities, or they had to indicate the real price, the actual real price, and then they had to pay this capital gain tax. But there was actually no capital gain, in fact. So I could say, as an answer, well, in the society, what happened is that the custom emerged to indicate only the cadastral price. And I believe that most of the contracts were being concluded in that particular way. And when we went to the notary, we were told to just do the same and to separately put together that, draw up that receipt or that agreement note where we indicated the actual amount of money that that was paid. So why in 2017 then the situation was different? We were surprised to see that the real price was smaller under the cadastral price, and the taxes upon procurement, including the notary taxes, these are paid from the amount that is bigger, either the cadastral or the other price, because the real price ended up being smaller than the price on the basis of which the taxes were being calculated. But the notary also explained that it's normal for the suburb of Chisinau, and for that particular settlement, it was a widespread phenomenon. And therefore indicated the real price in the contract, and the taxes were paid on the basis of the cadastral value, which was bigger. And then in the declaration, I would reflect thus the real price from the contract.
Then you informed the Commission that the source of funds for the purchase of the apartment were the donations of 360,000 lei relating to your wedding in 2013. Is that correct?
Yes.
But if we look at the different figures here, the amount of 360,000 lei would clearly be enough to pay for the official price of 165,488 lei. But if we, as you informed the Commission, the real price was paid for of the apartment was 27,000 lei, or 27,000 euros, so over 500,000 lei. So can you explain how the donation of 360,000 lei would be enough to pay for the real price of over 500,000 lei?
Well, certainly we didn't have the donation alone. In addition to that, we also managed to put aside certain funds. That is, I and my wife managed to set aside some funds to have some savings. Starting with 2010, when I entered the National Institute, when I enrolled in the National Institute of Justice, but I didn't spend that money that I got at the time. And then, since 2012, I started working in the prosecutor's office in Chokana City District of Chisinau. And I was living at the time with my mother in her apartment. And as for some substantial expenses, I didn't have any. So therefore, myself and my wife, we had the possibility to accumulate certain savings, and it was that difference between the price of the apartment and the donations from my mother. So that's what the amount that we accumulated with my wife.
Anything else that you would like to add to this particular issue?
Eu cred că ați văzut, am indicat
You noticed that I said that there were several family events, ceremonies such as the wedding, and I know that in the Netherlands or in other countries, weddings are a little bit different than the way weddings are done in Moldova, the Moldovan weddings. It might be a little bit complicated for you to understand these generous donations that are made at Moldovan weddings, but I am convinced that any person in any other country can understand the desire of parents to help their children out, and our family was not an exception to that rule. And as I also clarified in the correspondence with the Commission, the greatest part, the greatest amount of the money came from my mother and from the parents-in-law, that is, the parents of my wife. So that was their support, their help, first time for acquiring a place to live after the wedding. And then when we had a child and we were going to have another one, they provided us support in order to have more room as a living space, to enlarge it. Now, with regards to the sources of these funds, I provided the documentation I was able to obtain. So there were long years of work, and I've also annexed their labor records of my mother-in-law. The mother-in-law, as you mentioned, she has been working in the eastern region, Transnistria, but that's a period of time that spans over 30 years. And my father-in-law, since 1996, has been officially working abroad. Unfortunately, I was not able to submit a very detailed information with regards to their income, but there was also an issue perhaps of a bureaucratic nature. And in addition to that, I think you know very well that there in that region, speaking about Transnistria that is, the salaries are paid in Transnistrian currency, rubles so-called, but it's non-recognized, but it can be exchanged easily to lei or to dollars or to euros there in that region. So all the documentation I was able to obtain, I obtained and submitted to the Commission. And I would just like to reiterate that these amounts have been accumulated by two families over a lifetime, tens of years, that is.
Are there any other? Yeah, and Nadezhda, please go ahead.
Good morning, Mr. Lealin. I would like to ask you to clarify something just to make sure that I got it right. You mentioned that for the apartment that you sold in 2017, regardless of the amount, regardless of whether it was indicated the cadastral value or a different amount, you said that you wouldn't have had the obligation to pay the capital gain tax. Can you explain what you meant when you said that? Do you mean the fact that that was your main dwelling, the main place where you lived, or what exactly did you mean? No, I meant that a tax is paid for capital gain when you sell real estate. So when there is a difference between the procurement price and the sale price, it was the same price that I had there for the sale and for the purchase, and therefore there was no difference at all. And according to the tax code, there was no thus capital gain. Understood. But were there other facilities in 2017 that you could have resorted to? There was supposed to be provision, maybe it wasn't enforced at the time, as in when the main dwelling is sold, you don't have to pay taxes. Is this, you didn't refer to this, did you? I'm not sure. I mean, I know what you're asking me about, but I'm not sure about whether it was enforced at the time or not. But even if it was or was not, there was no capital gain. So that is the basis for taxation.
Yes, with respect to the donations for the wedding and for the christening event. For the wedding in 2013, I believe you indicated that you received donations in the amount of about 360,000 lei for the wedding and 420,000 for the christening event, and that your mother contributed about 200,000 lei, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that was to both events. The 200 was to both events.
Да,
Okay.
да.
Do you have
Yes.
a recollection of whether she contributed, how much she contributed to each, or?
Da. Sincer îmi vine foarte
Well,
greu
to be honest,
să
it's
amintesc.
hard now to recall. This is not something that was addressed in our written correspondence.
Știu că înțelegerea
I know that there was the understanding between my mother and my parents-in-law. They agreed that my mother would pay half of what the parents of my wife would pay, because it was two of them and my mother was alone only. So if you, when we accumulated them, when I accumulated these amounts, I just approximately put down the amounts for both events together.
So, and it does indicate that your parents-in-law contributed 400,000 to both events. And the only question I have is, with respect to that, is whether your mother contributed 100 to the wedding and your parents-in-law contributed 200, or if you don't recall a breakdown, just please indicate.
Nu pot spune.
Well, I can't remember now the details of that, and I wouldn't want to give out any information that would not be truthful.
My last question is two parts. With respect to the donation for the wedding and the donations for the christening event, do you recall if you declared those on your annual NIA statements?
Da, cu siguranță.
Yes, I certainly indicated them in the declarations.
So those amounts would then be indicated on your NIA statements?
Ele sunt.
They are there in the NIA declarations.
There are no other questions on this issue, then I would like to pass on to Tatjana. Please go ahead.
Bună ziua, domnule Lealin.
Greetings. Now we will address subject number 2, issue number 2, with regards to a car. And I will first read out the facts, and then I'll be asking you a couple of questions. On the 1st November 2018, you bought a Lexus, year of manufacturing in 2008, for the official price of 50,000 lei and estimatively 2,500 euros. The car was imported in March 2018 from Switzerland, and the value determined by the customs service was 200,000 lei, and the import tax 98,689 lei. That is about 15,000 euros. This total price of around 15,000 euros is close to the market value for such cars and about 6 times higher than the price you indicated.
Ați furnizat o copie a contractului de vânzare.
You provided a copy of the sale purchase agreement, and you told the Commission that a friend of yours had imported that car in March 2018. And as you did not have sufficient resources at the time, you only bought the car later that year, in November 2018.
Ați informat Comisia că
You informed the Commission that you bought the car for the actual price of 148,689 lei, approximately 7,500 euros. And that given there was some damage to the car, some repairs were required, and the car was repainted. This was not done in a specialized body shop, but that was performed by some people that you knew they had the right equipment to do so. You stated that the total costs related to the repairs and the repainting of the car amounted to less than €1,000, but you were not able to provide any receipts, bills whatsoever for the repairs that were performed. You also indicated that the price indicated by the customs service was too big and that various online platforms, online markets provided for smaller prices for such cars. You also provided pictures of the car, and they were apparently taken when the car was imported, and which also showed what the damages to the car were at the time, and then a picture after repairs and after the car was repainted from white to black. I would now like to ask you a couple of questions. Also, on the 1st of November 2018, you bought a Lexus from year of manufacture in 2008 for the official price of 50,000 lei, about €2,500. Is that correct? It is correct. You provided a copy of the sale purchase agreement confirming this price. Is that correct? Yes, I provided a copy to the Commission. This car was imported in March 2018 from Switzerland by a friend of yours, but you only bought it in November 2018 because you did not have enough funds earlier to buy it, correct? Yes. The value determined by the customs service was 200,000 lei and import tax 98,689 lei, totaling €15,000, correct? I guess so. I guess it is. You informed the Commission that you bought the car for the actual price of 148,689 lei, about €7,500, correct? Correct. So the sale purchase agreement showing the price of 50,000 lei contained an incorrect price. Why was this price indicated in the contract and not the actual price? How can we explain that? Well, it was not the incorrect price. It's exactly the amount that the seller of the car received. But as I indicated, the car was brought specifically for myself. So I paid separately that import tax. And in the asset declaration, that's what I indicated, contract price 50,000 lei, and separately I indicated the import tax that I paid 98,689 lei, and as the real actual price, I indicated the sum of this 50,000 in the contract plus the 98,689 lei, the import tax together.
And do you have a document for having paid that the customs duties? And yes, I attached to the Commission the document, and it shows the name. Well, you said it's a friend. I said it's a closed person. He's actually a person who is a godparent to my children. We have a rather close relationship, and for the reason, since he brought the car, the document is on his name, and I kept a copy and I showed it to the Commission, which shows clearly the import price, meaning that the customs duties. Well, the document shows your name of your friend, but the money was yours. Yes, it was my money, and actually this made me to include that in the declaration in the appropriate section, because I actually showed two prices: the contract price 50,000 lei and the actual price of the car. And when these sections were added to the declaration, I showed 50,000 lei and the import price that I paid for. You informed the Commission that the car had some deficiencies and it needed repairs and repainting. And you said that the costs were under €1,000. But you don't have documents that would prove the costs, right? Yes. I mean, how badly damaged was it?
Eu am anexat
I attached photos for the commission, photos of a car when being purchased, because it still had Swiss number plates before the import. The condition how it was purchased. Well, having it repainted from white to black wasn't just a wish of ours. It was a necessity, because its technical document says two colors, white and black. It was actually black, but it was covered with a protection film, white, and I had to take it off and paint the car all over because it had an accident and it was hit from three sides. And I attached the photos. I don't have any receipts because I did that, as I mentioned, for the commission. Some acquaintances of mine did it, and you can see the state of the car before and after these works and repainting of the car.
Cheltuielile au fost cam în jurul la 1000 de
And the expenses were around 1,000 euros? Well, they were up to 1,000 euros.
Așa, doriți să mai adăugați?
Would you like to add or clarify anything in this respect?
Da, vreau să dau
Yes, I would like to add.
anumite linkuri
And I also sent some links to the Commission to a website. Actually, there are several specialized websites for the sale of cars from Switzerland, where such cars can be found at a price of 3,000–4,000 euros without damage. Of course, a car after an accident can be purchased even at a lower price. Honestly, in 2018, even on 999 website, I saw these cars and for 2,500, but they were with foreign number plates and they could not be imported because they were here for more than 10 years. According to import rules, cars that are older than 10 years cannot be imported to Moldova, which means number plates cannot be replaced for Moldovan ones. And the car that I purchased was manufactured in 2008, and in March 2018 it was already, say, on the edge, we can say. So it was almost 10 years old. So it was the last period when it could have been imported, and I used that situation and I imported it at that price.
Domnul Lealin, bună ziua.
Hello, Mr. Lealin. I would like to ask a clarification question, actually two. I want to understand, I want to make clear that I understood exactly. What was the real paid price? You said you paid customs duties, and that would be around 100,000 lei. And you paid the seller, your close friend, 50,000 lei. So is this the actual price of a car?
Pentru mine,
For me, the actual price is a combined of 50,000 lei, so it's around 100,000 lei. No, it's 148,600 something lei, so it's almost 150.
am înțeles. Și a doua întrebare.
And the second question,
În care au fost achitate
so since you paid 150,000 lei,
acest automobil
this car
la serviciu vamal a fost determinat în valoare
was assessed as 200,000 by the customs service plus 100,000 in customs duties, that is 300,000 lei. And this value was determined specifically for this car, given the deficiencies that were eliminated by you. So that's almost like, it is a double value, 150,000, 300,000. So could you please explain, in your opinion, why there is such a big discrepancy? As long as the customs service, taking into account the deficiencies specific to this car, assessed it as 200,000 plus 100,000 lei in duties. I don't want to underestimate now the ability of the customs service, but you can see the price of 200,000, like it's 200,000 000. I can't say that it is a price set out of the blue, but it is a too rough estimation, nothing connected to the reality. They have some methods, they check some websites, but even on websites, the price of such a car can be from and to, and they always take the maximum price. And I told the Commission, a car in the ideal technical condition, yes, it could cost 200,000 lei. They probably did not make the effort to make any expert review or to see what are the consequences of the accidents the car was in and what repairs have to be performed. And I think that this is how they set that price. I really don't know. And as I wrote to the Commission, since they're using a market price notion, I did not buy it on the market. I purchased it from a person. By the way, my first car, Nissan Almera, I purchased from the same person. And when I sold the Nissan, I mentioned that in the declaration I had a proxy issued to the same person. He was the one who sold it. So I had many relationships of this kind with this person, long-lasting, and we have other relationships too. So during the time when the car was brought, from March to November, he actually used that car. And that was also taken into account when the price was set. And later on, when I purchased that car, issued a proxy for the Nissan car for that person, and he used that car for some months. So all these circumstances were taken into account when we established the price of that car. So in the end, it is the will of the parties, and my duty here was to declare the amount to the National Integrity Authority, and I did that. I accept your answer. Thank you, and Chairperson, I have no other question.
Anyone else have any other questions for the candidate? If that is not the case, then I would like now to give you the opportunity to make a closing statement. Please go ahead.
First of all, I would like to thank the Commission and the Secretariat for the work done. I would like to tell you that you have huge responsibility in everything you do, because the decisions of the Commission will have the future impact on the justice here for many, many years to come. I am optimistic. I want to be an optimist, and I hope it will be a positive impact. And to all other candidates that have not passed the assessment yet, I would like to wish them good luck. So thank you.
Thank you very much. That brings us to the end of the hearing for this morning. I thank you again for your answers to our written questions and, of course, also to our questions today. The Commission will now withdraw for deliberations, and as much as possible, we will issue a decision within a month after the hearing of today. Thank you again, and I declare this hearing closed.